I got a new toy, and it's heavy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. One of the cool things about the recent success of the Dad Budget Adventures channel, I've had a number of companies reach out to me about doing product collaboration videos. Now for the most part, I've been turning a lot of them down because I really don't want to just start bringing random products to this channel, things that my viewers might not be interested in. So I've been very particular, but there are a couple that I've started working with. But recently, Senada electric bikes reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in doing a video to review one of their bikes. At first I responded and told them I didn't really think that's where the channel was going, but they reached out again and said, hey look, we'd just like to send it to you, get your honest opinion about it, and see what your thoughts are. So at that point I said, let's give it a go. You know, an e-bike ticks off all the marks of the things that I'm interested in. They're great for outdoor activities, for camping, for exploring. They're a great prepper tool. And when you get to be my age, you start looking for ways that you can comfortably get some exercise without putting excess strain on your body, and biking's a great way to do that. And they sent me the Senada Archon, which is their fat-tired mountain bike. And let me tell you, this thing is pretty sweet. Of course, it arrives in a pretty large box and some assembly is required. It's not terribly difficult, and I'm not the most mechanically inclined person, but I was able to get this thing together in a little over an hour. You don't have to worry about assembling anything like sprocket gears or anything like that. All of that comes already intact. All you really have to do is attach the tires and hook up a few things. I was really surprised with how easy it was overall. Once I had the bike all together, I was blown away by how gorgeous this thing is. But of course, looks aren't everything when it comes to something like a bike. You gotta see how it's gonna perform. So let's talk a little bit about the performance factors of this bike. So the Archon tires are 26 by 4. This is an enormous tire. It's designed to be grippy on all kinds of different terrains. You can ride on roads, off roads, up and down hills, wherever you need to go, this thing's gonna do a good job. Even on gravel, I was pretty confident in the grip of these tires. I didn't even for a second feel like it was gonna come out from under me or anything like that. It's a 48-volt battery system and it runs a 1,000-watt motor. Typically, most e-bikes run a 750-watt motor. 1,000 watts takes it to a whole nother level with a whole lot more capability. And I found out on my first ride just what kind of capability this thing had. I had no idea that I was going to be able to achieve the speeds that I was getting on this bike. I got the bike up over 30 miles an hour. Now, a couple of years ago, I bought my first e-bike and I absolutely loved it. But a lot of e-bikes have a governor on them that keep them at 20 miles per hour max. So I did not expect when I got on this one that I was going to be able to open it up and get to those kind of speeds. The bike has 5 levels of pedal assist, with level 5 being the highest. You can set the bike to whatever pedal assist mode you want, and that's going to determine just how fast you're capable of going. Now, one thing that I did notice with this bike was that each level of pedal assist, the bike pretty much is going to go to that top speed in that level of assist. It doesn't really matter how hard you pedal or how fast you pedal, it's going to try to get to that top speed for that level. So understanding a little bit about each pedal assist level is pretty important because you need to know where it's appropriate to ride at what speed. Riding 30 miles an hour on pedal assist 5, going through a neighborhood, that's kind of a risky move. You're probably going to want to drop down to about 1 or 2. While I was out riding the bike, I did test to see what each level was going to give me when it came to speeds. All right, so we're just pedaling in pedal assist 3 and topping out about 18 miles an hour. Kick it up to 4, 24 miles an hour. Wow. So that's how you get your exercise on this thing. You don't hit that throttle, you just pedal and let it do the work. You're still gonna work just as hard, but you're gonna get there faster. When you start pedaling, it's going to take you to the max speed. You don't pedal slower and it'll slow down. If you're pedaling, it's gonna hit that max speed. All right, so if we wanna just ride casually, probably gonna set it on about pedal assist 2. It looks like it maxes out at 12 miles an hour, which is a pretty moderate pace for just riding through a neighborhood like this. Let you get some exercise and you're not going insanely fast. So we've dropped down to pedal assist 1. We're doing 6 miles an hour. This bike is an absolute hoot to ride. I had such a good time on my test runs. Now, when I originally got the bike, it came with mechanical handbrakes. You do have the option of buying the bike with the hydraulic brake system already attached, but standard, it comes with the mechanical brakes. Hydraulics, of course, being an upgrade for an upgraded price. But once I got the bike, I got another email from Senada saying, we want to send you the upgraded hydraulic brakes because we want to get your impression of that. So what I ended up doing was I took it out with the mechanical brakes so I could get a feel for that. And then I installed the hydraulic brakes once they arrived. It wasn't a terribly hard process. I did have to take off a couple of things off the handlebars, but they easily went back into place, and the brakes were surprisingly easy to put on. But I did notice a considerable difference in the handling of the brakes. It was a much smoother feel, and it felt like I had a whole lot more control over stopping. When you're on a bike that's capable of doing 30 miles per hour, having good brakes, that's the way to go. I definitely recommend upgrading to the hydraulic brakes from the beginning. The mechanical brakes will stop the bike, but I do feel a lot more confident with those hydraulic brakes installed. Now, one of the things that's kind of strange about this bike is it is a multi-speed bike, but I can't figure out how many speeds it has. None of the information on the website, none of the information in the owner's manual tells me how many speeds the bike has. Now, the speeds really only have two functions. As I explained earlier, when you're using the pedal assist modes, it's going to try to achieve those max speeds for each level. So when using pedal assist, the different speed capabilities of the pedals is really just about the amount of exercise that you want to get. Do you want to pump your legs faster, or do you want more resistance? But where it is more important when it comes to the operation of the bike is the bike has the capability to be ridden without pedal assist. So the ability to change the bike speed will come into play with that. Now, in the event that something happens and you find yourself having to walk the bike, there is a walk assist mode as well. Because the bike is heavy, it weighs close to 75 pounds. It's a heavy bike, and most of that weight is in the battery. Maybe you had a blown tire or something and you've got to get back to home base. That walk assist mode is going to help out a lot with that. It's just going to run the motor at a slow speed, which allows it to be easier to push along. Now, if you've run the battery all the way down, then you're going to be hauling a heavy bike all the way back home. Let's talk a little bit about the battery really quick. As I said, this is a 48-volt system, and the battery is good, allegedly, to 65 miles. My old e-bike would get 30 miles max, maybe 40 if you were doing a lot of pedaling. This bike advertises 65 miles. Now, I don't know if that is operating at max speed or what the weight requirement is to max that out. That's a pretty good range for an electric bike. This bike also has a cruise control, so if you don't want to pedal and you don't want to be rolling on that throttle the whole time, you can pull that throttle back to where you want it, set that cruise control, and just let the bike do the work. Now, I think that my favorite thing about an e-bike is that if I'm going out to get some exercise, and maybe I've gone a little further than I expected to, and now I'm pretty worn out, but I've still got to get back home, I don't have to worry about running out of energy before I can make it. If I start feeling rough, if I start having problems with my legs, if there's something that's going on that keeps me from being able to ride all the way back home, I don't want to have to call my wife to come and get me. With an e-bike, all I've got to do is hit that throttle and ride it home like a motorcycle. Not only is that convenient, it is stupid fun. You don't even have to want to get exercise with one of these. If you want a bike that you can ride without having to get a motorcycle license, you don't have to pedal it, you don't have to do anything, you can just hit that throttle and go. An e-bike's a good way to go with. I said something earlier about this being a great tool for preppers. The reason for that is if you're in an off-grid environment or a grid-down situation, you can charge this bike with a solar generator. You don't have to have fuel. You don't have to have electricity come into your house. If you have a solar generator, now keep in mind, it has to have the capability of putting out the power that the charger requires. So you need to know a little bit about what size generator to get. But if you are into prepping, you've probably already got something like this in your stockpile. You can use that to charge your bike. And that way, no matter what happens, fuel supplies run short, or if you just can't get going, you're gonna have that bike as a form of transportation. A couple of things you need to keep in mind when it comes to this particular model e-bike. You need to know what the laws in your area are regarding electric bikes. Senada considers this a Class 2/3 e-bike, which I think means that in certain areas it's considered a Class 2, in certain areas it's Class 3, or depending on how you set this bike, you can set it up to be a Class 2 as opposed to a Class 3. Now, it's up to you to learn the differences, and it's up to you to know what the laws are in your area about that. One of the biggest restrictions you run into with e-bikes, especially your higher class e-bikes, is riding on public trails. If you have a lot of walking trails that your community has set up, you may not be allowed to ride this bike on those trails. You also have to understand if your community requires you to license this bike. Because of its capabilities, its speed, and the fact that it's able to ride without you having to pedal, that determines legally where your bike stands when it comes to a motorized vehicle. So be sure you look into that before you get yourself in trouble with this bike. Let's talk about pros and cons. The pros, of course, is this thing is stupid fast and it's stupid fun. As I said, you can charge it with the right solar generator, so you don't even need electricity flowing to your house. It's easy to ride, it's easy to figure out, and it's extremely stable. Now let's talk about some cons. First one I've already addressed. You need to know the laws in your area when it comes to e-bikes. My least favorite thing about the bike is the headlight. It's an extremely focused headlight, and I really wish it had more of a spread to it. I feel like it's a little too focused in, and it needs to cover more ground. That's really the only thing that I'm not a huge fan of about this bike. A couple more considerations that you have to keep in mind with an e-bike, particularly this model, is if you plan on taking this bike anywhere with you, you're going to need a heavy-duty bike rack. You're going to need one that's designed for e-bikes. You're not going to be able to put a 75-pound bike on a standard bike rack and expect that it's not going to fall apart while you're going down the road. Also, you're never going to want to ride this bike without a helmet. I don't care how cool you think you are, a bike that can do 30 miles an hour is as dangerous as a motorcycle. And I have seen severe injuries on a standard 10 speed. So you add the speed capabilities of this bike to that mix, you stand to get really hurt if you get thrown off this bike. Also, you might want to invest in some riding gloves, because if you take a spill over the handlebars and you come down hands first, it's going to shred the palms of your hands if you don't have some kind of protective wear. On a final note, I have to say that when they sent me this bike, they didn't ask me what color I wanted. They sent me blue and black. Being a retired law enforcement officer, I absolutely love this color scheme. Now, I'm not one of those guys that has everything blue and black that identifies the fact that I used to be a cop, but I feel like the coloring of this bike is a great little tip of the hat. But I truly do love the paint job on this bike. It has a satin finish. It's not overly glossy or fancy or flashy looking. It's very subtle, but it's a gorgeous paint job. My overall impression is this is an outstanding piece of equipment. And I'm not just saying that because Senada sent it to me for free. I'm saying it because I have tested this equipment and I absolutely love it. First time I rode this bike and I came back home, my wife commented on the huge grin on my face when I came back through the door. She knew I was having fun with this thing. One of the best things about these bikes is their price. I'm not gonna quote the price because it changes a lot, but Senada is providing me with a discount link for my viewers in the event that you're interested in this bike, you wanna go see what the pricing is and see how much it will be with that discount. That'll be in the description box down below, so you can go check it out. There are so many things to love about this bike. There's so many things that I haven't learned about it yet. Y'all are probably gonna ask me a lot of questions that I am not gonna know the answers to, but I will continue to ride this bike. I'll continue to learn things about it, and it's probably gonna show up in a few more videos. So keep watching for that down the line. And with all that out of the way, that's it for this video. And until the next one, prepare for the world that you live in, not the one you wish existed. Ride safe, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up. Or in this case, the satin side. And we'll see you next time.